Hi guys, Jason Whistler here with Ninja Success. Now today, um, just in doing some other reading and research and whatnot, the thing that struck me, and I've run across this many times before, but I ran across it again today, and it's been top of mind, and it seems to come up a few times today. So it is obviously the topic of the day, and that is. You are not your story. Okay, so let me explain a little bit. Whenever you meet somebody, you ask them, like, tell me about yourself. Who are you? What do you do? Stuff like that, right? The getting to know you phase. And predictably, what the feedback that you'll get is that person's story. It's generally a rehash of the history of the things that they've done or encountered that have gotten them to this point. So, case in point, right? So somebody walks up to me and says, "Hey, I'm so-and-so, great, my name's Jason, so tell me a little bit about yourself," whatever, and the expected response, and what I generally give to you is, "Oh, well, I'm an IT guy, and I teach martial arts, and I've gotten married, and these are the things that are going on. I've got a couple of dogs." So what I've done is kind of listed off some details about my current situation, which are based upon choices I've made in the past. Now, that's fine. It gives somebody a quick snapshot of what I do and things I have. It doesn't really tell them who I am. It doesn't tell them the things that drive me, motivate me, interest me. You could start to make some assumptions about some of those things, but they really don't give you a good picture of that. And I would say that's all well and fine. That's social convention. It's an expedient. A lot of people, maybe they're just asking because, well, so what you do? You don't know what to say to somebody you just met, so you say, "What do you do?" Right? And that's another topic. We'll get into that one a little bit. But your story. Now, usually the stories are the things we tell ourselves, and the stories come up when someone asks, "Well, why did you do that? Why do you live in why do you live in that town? Why do you have that job? Why do you drive that car? Why'd you marry your wife?" And the rationale, what you're going to get from that is a story. And that story it's the logic, it's the decisions, it's all the things from the past that created our present. The issue comes up then where the stories we carry with us are the definition for everything from here forward. So now not only are the stories the things that have brought us from the past to our present moment, they start to become the definitions and the causes, the precursors to what we are in the future. And that very much limits our ability to grow, adjust, change, make different decisions just because we've made a decision. Okay? Whatever that decision is. When I went to college the first time, originally I thought, I wanted to be into paleontology. That wasn't available. Next closest thing was geology, and I thought, all right, I'll be a geologist. Worked with a mentor for a little while. geology's fun. I liked the outdoor aspects of it. The career prospects of it were minimal at best. And what I found out is that, at least at that point in my life, chemistry was a little bit of a challenging subject for me. Like, I couldn't quite wrap my head around it, and it wasn't nearly as fun or interesting as going out into the, out in the desert, out in the woods or whatever, and picking up rocks and checking them out and seeing what was cool about the rocks and how they were made. I didn't care at the time about the chemical components. But you can't get a degree without a lot of chemistry, so geology was a bad choice. So then I had to make a new choice. All right, well, if I'm not going to be a geologist, what am I going to be? So what are my career options? What's the smartest choice I could make, and something I'm already good at that moment in time? And that would have been IT work. So I have a degree in IT, information technology, and I've worked off and on in information technology, and currently still do. And occasionally I still will introduce myself as an IT professional. So it's something I do, but it is not the only thing that I am. Right? Clearly, I'm into self-development, I'm into success, I've owned multiple businesses, I teach martial arts, I study psychology, I study alternative healing methods, I'm an alternative healing practitioner. In the process of owning businesses and things, I've been an engineer of sorts. I worked on a sheet metal cutting laser. Okay, I was the technician for manufacturing equipment. I've done. I taught myself to weld because for a while I needed that skill. So all of those decisions, behind all of those decisions are stories, and in my particular case in my life, that story, I've had multiple opportunities where I'll take a radically new direction for a while and explore something radically different. And that's very confusing for some people. They say I'm eclectic or eccentric or whatever, because one day I'm welding and the next day I'm doing body work, or I'm working on a computer, or I'm fixing a laser, or I'm doing construction work on my house or helping a neighbor. Or it seems really random, and that's because I don't really let my stories define me, and they haven't for quite a long time, before I even realized that was a common thread. Now, I do have some stories that have stuck with me for a very, very long time, and they've been a challenge where I've developed a habit, or I've developed a method of being or working with the world that isn't really serving me so well anymore. One of those would be, for most of my life, I have considered myself a severe introvert, a very introspective person, and just not socially driven. Right? I prefer my company of myself to the company of groups, and that's not really true anymore. I actually found through doing a lot of the alternative healing work, I actually really like working with people and teaching martial arts, and so I'm actually very social, and when engaged in those areas, I talk very freely. I enjoy the company of others, and I miss it when I'm at the office sitting at a desk for hours and hours and hours, and I don't have any social interaction. So I can't clearly define myself as an introvert. That story of me as introvert, while it was absolutely true all the way up through high school and college, where I only had 2-3 friends at any given time, and generally only hung out with them once or twice a week for a few hours. It just doesn't hold true anymore. So That's an old story. So you can look at the things that you're carrying around. How do you define yourself? Which of those things are old stories that maybe once you recognize them, you can make a different decision. Maybe the facts around how you're living now really don't hold up as well, or that story is starting to crumble, to fall apart. It's not serving its usefulness anymore, because it's who you were and how you got to here, not who you are, not how you're going to get to your future. And sometimes this particular video challenge was part of it, where I thought, I'm not a video person. I'm not somebody who can just come up with random subjects and talk to an unknown audience about whatever it is that I think is important or interesting in the moment. And I held that story for a long time. This is not my first time attempting a video challenge where I was going to go on and every day talk about some topic that I found meaningful, that I thought would help somebody else. All right. So I had to get past a story, a rationale for why I was or wasn't some specific thing or way of being, so that I could get to a place where, no, I really am comfortable. And after a couple of videos and after about a week of doing this daily, I'm now, this particular video is number 53 in a series, shot every day. And that's fantastic. Out of those 53 days, I missed one day. And if you've watched the video series, you would already know that, because I called it out, man, and just accepted it immediately and said, oh, I missed a day. Right? So, yeah, that's it. We are not our story. That's what I'm getting to. So take the opportunity to think about some of the stories you routinely tell yourself and routinely tell other people, and how accurate are they? Maybe they're accurate at the moment. Are those stories from here forward going to impair your progress towards some success or towards some goal you've set yourself? So if you recall, I talked about the Goma, the fire ceremony and whatnot, where we look at all the little pieces, the little grains of rice, or the little beans and whatnot, and some of those represent internal things, internal factors that are going to get in our own way of reaching the goal or reaching the stated target that we want to get to. These stories, these things we tell ourselves about ourselves and tell other people about ourselves, are part of this process, and they're part of the thing that may get in your way. So identify them, shine a light on them, question them. Are they still accurate? Are they still beneficial to you? And do you really need a story for it? Or this is just the most beneficial way of being right now. This is just a choice I made previously that put me here, and at some point in time when it is no longer beneficial, I'm free to choose any other method of being. Who knows? I may turn out to be a wild extrovert in a future point in time. I don't think so, but I'm open to that opportunity. I'm not going to set a story that I will never be an extrovert because blah, 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 blah. Okay? So that's my invite to you, and I wish you much luck in hunting down and identifying your stories. And in the shamanic tradition, we would write them down and throw them in the fire. We don't need those stories anymore. Yes, they are stories about our past, and they're useful in identifying how we got here. They are no longer useful in identifying who we are as a person now. Now we are who we are, and our choices going forward. Look forward, not to the past. All right, so that's it. And as always, remember, success ninjas never quit. And I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.